Are you able to send reminders to customers that have not paid their invoices? Great question around the automation piece.
Yes, very good question. And in short, yes, you can. You do have to have the enterprise version of Advanced, and then there is a feature in there called Dunning letters, and that can be configured to be sent when customers have not paid their invoices.
Very good. Now, of course, the Enterprise Edition does add a whole lot of additional features, not only around the finance piece, but in general across the system. If you're not sure of what those differences are, do reach out to your business partner. But to carry on a question there, Bev, what are some of your favourite features of the Enterprise Edition from a finance perspective in terms of the extra functionality it adds?
Oh, there's so many. I would definitely say I like the deferred revenue, the recurring, and deferred expenses. So you can just code your invoice directly, and then the system takes care of splitting it out over the 12 months or however long you need it to be split out over. Allocations, all of that stuff. It's all really good and very helpful in terms of finance.
Yeah, great examples. If you do have those complications around needing to manage deferred revenue expenses, some really good features there, but it does require that Enterprise Edition of Advanced, of course.
Correct.
All right, continuing on here, how do you take up exchange rate variances at year end in the currency accounts?
Under our currency module, currency management module over here, we have these revalue GL accounts, revalue AP, AR accounts, etc. Those are where you would go to revalue your accounts. So again, you would need to manage your currency rates for the end of the year. If you don't have your currency rates updating on a daily basis through a schedule, then you're managing that on a monthly basis or weekly basis, or however often you're doing it anyway. I would probably create a specific rate for the end of the year, which is based on the rate that your accountants give you. And then you can set that up in there, and then you jump into this revalue your GL accounts or AP or AR accounts and run the process from there, just by picking which currency you're revaluing. And then I don't have any examples in here and what rate type you're going to be using. It's in there. And then the financial period ending, which would be the end of the financial year, and you can have it all revalued for you.
Perfect. Good question there, Roger. Continuing on, I've got another question here. What is the best way to handle one-off or special orders that require a bill of materials to manage time and inventory?
Okay. I would probably do that. If for one-off ones, I would probably create a specific non-stock code and set that up as a non-stock kit, and then run that through as a kit assembly. In terms of setting up that kit assembly, you would set it up, if we go to the kit specifications, making sure that all these flags are ticked, that you can allow component addition, and allowing allowing component addition generally means I don't actually have to have any stock components in here. So when I do the kit specification, I can just add what I'm doing at that point in time through either the stock or the non-stock components.
Fantastic. Now, if the client's actually doing a lot of one-off items, lots of special orders, what would be the best way to consider that in terms of a more flexible ongoing solution?
I think there you would sort of really need to discuss your business process and talk to your consultants with that, because maybe it depends on whether you're going to want to track that stock and how you're wanting to track it, and what the sales in there, and perhaps setting them up as stock items with their own kit assemblies for future.
And of course, there is the manufacturing edition of MYB Advanced. That does talk to particularly, generally there's lots of features around that in terms of the discrete manufacturers around make to stock. Of course, if you are sort of more configure to order, there is the product configurator. And there is the estimating piece as well, which could fit some of these sorts of more one-off type requirements. But as Bev said, reach out to your partner and they can talk you through those options in further detail.
Yes.
Now, I've got another question here from an attendee who can't see the fixed asset module. Is that available in advanced?
Yes, it is. It just needs to be turned on and configured. So it doesn't come pre-configured out of the box. You do need to work with your partner in that and setting up all your depreciation methods, etc., and making sure that they are meeting the AU and NZ legislative requirements. And that there is a bit of configuration around that, but it is part of the product, every version of it. So it just needs to be implemented.
And a great module, actually, that saves a lot of time. So if you're not using that, we certainly encourage you to get that underway. A question here from Miraluna. Are there automation schedules for AP as well?
Yes, there are. What are you wanting to do in AP?
It's a big question, isn't it? Maybe
it is a big question.
Some examples of how we could use automation schedules with accounts payable.
Generally, under our processes menu, so any one of our workspaces that have these processes menu, anything in here is generally got a scheduled on the screen. Remember, I said to you in the demo that any screen that has this schedule here can be scheduled. So, and it's generally the bulk processes that will be able to be scheduled, and reports, of course.
Of course, perfect. All right, another question here. Can you, on the web interface, see suppliers with international currency? Or do we need to still use accounts receivable to change the currency type after we raise a bill to pay? Now, do you get that one, Bev?
No, I think
a bit of interpretation.
Yes. What are we looking at? What was the first part of that question?
Can you see suppliers with international currency?
Okay, I don't have suppliers. Oh, I do. Yes, you can. So under your suppliers list, you've got your currency ID that is forms part of your group, your search screen that you come into. You can create filters around that and make sure that you can have AUD, NZD, USD all over there as little filters at the top there if you wanted to, or you can just filter on here and pick the currency that you're looking for. So, yep. Does that answer the first part?
I think that's pretty close. Cool. And I think that answers the second part as well. If we haven't answered your question, do feel free to drop a further Q&A and we can see if we can help that out further. Now, another question here, and again, going back into fixed assets here, Bev, it's a two-part question. How can I capitalize something I'm building into being an asset? The first part. And the second part, what methods can I use to apply costs associated with an asset afterwards? Whoa, have you got your accounting hat on?
Big question. Yes, I do. So there's actually two ways to do it. The way we tend to recommend is to set up, if you've got projects configured, I would set it up as a project that you're building it, and all expenses and everything coming in will get allocated to that project. And then at the end of the project, when it's all ready to be capitalized, you do a journal out of those out of the project itself into which is, all coded to work in progress, fixed assets or something, whatever your GL account is at that point. And then you do a journal out of that work in progress account, linked to the project into a fixed asset accrual account. And then from there, you can create the fixed asset. Alternatively, you can skip out the project itself and just do coding directly to the work in progress account if you don't have projects configured in your system. It just makes it a little bit where you need to do a little bit of GI handling and filtering to see which costs belong to which building if you've got multiple assets underway.
Okay. And the second part of that question, what methods can I use to apply costs associated with an asset afterwards? we've done the initial project, we've completed that. How can I then do additional value adds with that asset?
Okay, so depending on what you're wanting to do, but from my understanding of that question is if it now is a big machine that's been built and it needs to either be serviced or and it's going to have regular ongoing costs, you can implement the field services module and to manage that as a piece of what we call equipment in there and schedule services around a specific time frame.
Fantastic. What are your favorite MYOB advanced features that you think are the most underutilized?
Dashboards and side panels, and dashboards for very specific exception reporting type of thing, and to-do lists, tasks that need to be done to manage where things are at in regards to the role that you're doing within the organization. So keeping them all in green is always a good thing, as opposed to putting them into red, etc. Side panels from the and I'll show you an example of a side panel. So side panels are fully customizable as well. So we can put whatever we like, whatever your business requires into a side panel. For example, on this particular one, I've got a customer's screen here, and I have a couple of side panels down the side here. If I click onto that AR Clerk by Customer side panel, I can see all my information, which was exactly the same as that base one, but just now relevant to the customer I have clicked on. So if I move over to the next customer in the list, my dashboard on the side changes based on what they owe, what is overdue with them. Here you can see I've got an AR aging, where they're sitting, and if I just hover over those, I can see the dollar values that are sitting in those particular buckets.